peace on the peninsula after North and South Korea announced an end to the decades-long war. Many cannot help but actually give President Trump the credit.
This is a big deal, and there's one person who is more responsible than anybody else for it, and that is President Trump.
Ronnie Jackson is one of the finest men that I've met.
The Secret Service now says it has no record of an incident that the media has been reporting all week.
Ronnie is an honorable, noble American patriot. Making up lies about this guy, they're unbelievably disgusting.
Investigators found no evidence of collusion or coordination of any kind between the Russian government and the Donald Trump for President campaign. None.
No collusion, no coordination, no nothing. It's a witch hunt. That's all it is.
The Democrats can say, well, we need to keep going, but there's just nothing there.
The Jets drafted a quarterback and say he has great hair, but it's not as good as Griff Jenkins this morning. Look at it. I mean, that is a hairdo. It's new. We're going to get to more on Griff's hair. But first, what you just saw there is the ultimate air dogs, and they're performing live on our plaza, catching Frisbees right outside.
You know, if I were scrolling through the channels this morning and this came up, I would know immediately that I was watching Fox and Friends.
Of course.
Because this is the only place that this type of thing happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the Ultimate Air Dogs has been brought to us. We're going to talk about later. Milt Wilcox was the pitcher for the Detroit Tigers that won Game 3 in the 1984 World Series. Like, this is serious Ultimate Air Dogs.
It's legit. And it's so serious that our own Pete Hegseth you said that you would be willing to go catch a Frisbee later on in the show.
I think it might be fun.
Are you going to follow through?
I will see.
Okay.
I'm going to test the water, see how cold it is.
You're
it
gonna
might
see
be like
Pete
a
Hegseth.
giant dunk tank.
He's going to be doing exactly what those dogs
are
doing.
And put it out really far so I got to stretch out for it. That's how I want it. I want it difficult.
The only reason you're doing that is because Ed Henry's not here. And you know, it's one thing you can win.
You can't lose if there's no competition.
That's right.
Yes.
Unless, Griff, you want to get at it,
I'll
too.
throw the Frisbee for you.
Okay.
By the way, has your wife written you yet about your hair?
You know, Miss Jenkins has not written me about my hair, but a lot of other people have, to include a Twitter handle called Sean Hannity's Hair that approves.
They prove.
Ooh, Sean's got great hair, and you're competing now.
That's serious hair love.
All right. Well, a lot of news as we are waking up. A lot of fun,
that too.
But a lot of news that we want to get to this morning. And probably the biggest news this week and potentially in decades when it comes to North and South Korea. Peace on the peninsula. North and South Korea announcing an end to the decades-long war. Many are giving the president credit for this, Pete. It's a time in history that you have to step back and say, you know what, Republicans and Democrats coming together and acknowledging that
well, as they should, because previous administrations have not gotten this problem right. And Barack Obama said to Trump when he left that North Korea would be his most urgent problem. Since then, this administration has focused on it a great deal, whether it's fire and fury, military exercises, sanctions, pressuring China to do more, tough rhetoric, diplomacy. Now, ultimately, you see this North and South Korean leader come together and say, A, we want to end this war, which is still going on. It was just an armistice. And B, we want to denuclearize the entire peninsula. Again, we'll see if it happens. But what an amazing start. And President Trump spoke yesterday about the opportunity in Korea. Listen.
I want to congratulate the Republic of Korea on its historic summit with North Korea. We're encouraged by President Moon and Kim Jong-un's expressed goal of complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. I will be meeting with Kim Jong-un in the coming weeks. We look forward to that. And hopefully it will be productive. We seek a future of peace, prosperity, and harmony for the whole Korean Peninsula, unlocking not only a brighter future for the people of Korea, but for the people of the world. We're in pursuit of that goal. We will not repeat the mistake of past administrations. Maximum pressure will continue until denuclearization occurs.
Important point. Very important point.
That is an important point. And so as you heard there, they're now down to 2 locations for where the summit will take place. We haven't been given an exact date yet, but who you should listen to are the leaders in North and South Korea. You said listen to state TV in North Korea. It's a great place to go. But also South Korea, their foreign minister, which is essentially their Secretary of State, was on CNN yesterday, and she gave her take on why we're seeing this happen now.
I think clearly, credit goes to President Trump. He's been determined to come to grips with this from day one. my president also since day one. And I think the presidents Moon and Trump have worked very closely together, sometimes in complementarity, sometimes in different messaging. But the level of consultations and the confidence between the two leaders has been instrumental in bringing us to this point.
Well, I don't think anyone has President Trump's messaging.
Well,
He's
no.
his own brand.
Well, the
He does his
unpredictability
own-
is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think CNN, which is headquarters for Resistance TV, liked hearing that. But it's a fair admission. We wouldn't be here without what the president did.
One, and not to underscore the significance, the security of the planet has sat at the 38th parallel within the last recent years as Kim Jong-un has tested almost 100 ballistic missiles and really ramped up at a pace that all the experts says was far beyond what they thought they would do. He clearly became an even more enormous threat than the Obama administration, as you pointed out. But the fact is, you're hearing not only from the South Korean foreign minister, but also the Prime Minister of Australia and other world leaders saying it was the president's willingness to engage in very tough talk and negotiations to bring us to this
I just
point.
want to add one historical point. It's the elites and the intelligentsia, the media types. They always fawn over a Neville Chamberlain. They fawn over a Jimmy Carter. They fawn over Barack Obama. You know who history remembers? Winston Churchill. History remembers Ronald Reagan. History will remember Donald Trump if this peninsula is denuclearized. Let's see if the Nobel Peace Prize Committee ever takes note of that. They handed one out to newly minted President Obama for cooperation between peoples. I don't know. I saw that handshake at the DMZ.
Yeah.
Looked a lot like
It wasn't even a
cooperation
handshake. It was like a
between
hand
peoples.
holding.
Well,
Yes.
It was unbelievable.
It's incredible.
Yes, it
Don't
was.
hold,
what happens, but-
don't hold your breath on that Nobel Peace Prize. But I've also brought a little
you
reading
did?
material, which Pete has picked up, and that is the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence report, just out this week. A lot of news there, finding that President Trump's campaign and his administration in no way colluded with Russia or coordinated with him. But you found some other things.
Well, there's some interesting stuff in here as well. I turned to page 103, and it's all redacted. And then I turned to page 104, and CNN's name pops up, and so does James Clapper. It turns out James Clapper may not have been telling the truth when he said this to CNN about the dossier. Listen.
I didn't have any contact with media until after I left the government on the 20th of January. So I don't quite understand, at least what I've read, that somehow I leaked about the dossier.
So let me get, so you didn't leak anything about the dossier to any media?
No, not, I mean, I talked about it after I left the government, but not during that period, and certainly not between the 6th of January and the 10th when the president-elect himself talked about it.
So what is the date on there, Pete?
He was interviewed on July 17th of 2017 by the committee, James Clapper, and he admitted to confirming the existence of the dossier to the media. Jake Tapper, a few other journalists, folks at CNN, on January 12th of 2017.
So that was before the inauguration.
It sure was.
Yeah.
So one of those, that turns out what he was saying in the media wasn't true, and they were pushing the dossier narrative before the president was elected, which fits with everything else we've heard. Comey, McCabe.
I was just going to say, Griff, the bigger picture when we talk about this dossier, and the reason it's so important is because it is this dossier that was part of the evidence that then led to what we are now seeing play out with this Mueller probe on Russia collusion, right? So you've got to look at the evidence. Why was this investigation started? What was the evidence that was good enough to lead to that?
Why are they pushing it to the media so hard?
And there are still so many question marks about what that evidence was. Even James Comey, most recently with our own Bret Baier 2 nights ago, when he was asked, do you know who paid for that dossier? He said, I didn't know that. And he still says he doesn't know. The only place that he heard that it was funded by the Democrats was in the media.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what will be fascinating to watch it's going
You learned from the media, FBI director. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see now what Democrats who, as I was pointing out earlier, Nancy Pelosi, House Minority Leader, said this was a fundamentally flawed investigation. Well, the committee for that report interviewed more than 70 witnesses. We'll find out who's left to find what doesn't exist. That's really where the Democrats find themselves.
All right, we've been talking about Ronny Jackson this morning because he has been dragged through the mud all week, as many of our viewers have been following, and he has since withdrawn his name from being the VA Secretary of the United States. Well, President Trump is up tweeting this morning, and he has made it very clear how upset he is about how all this went down. He says that allegations made by Senator John Tester, who was the senator that's been putting out a lot of this information, against Admiral Dr. Ron Jackson are proving false false. The Secret Service is unable to confirm. In fact, they deny any of the phony Democrat charges, which have absolutely devastated the wonderful Jackson family. Tester should resign. That's a pretty strong statement there coming from President
It sure
Trump.
is. So the new nugget we know this morning is that the Secret Service has looked into whether the allegations against Ronnie Jackson when he was the White House doctor were true. And they've said it didn't happen. We have no records of it at all. This comes, the problem is that's after the fact. It comes after 3-4 days where the irresponsible left-wing media ran with allegations from John Tester and smeared a good man through the mud. And now he's pulled his name out of consideration for the VA secretary because who wants to put up with that? And he never got his court hearing. He never got his day in confirmation. And John Tester's on the Senate VA committee. He knew what he was doing.
This wasn't even about his ability to serve Griff, though. These are allegations about a lot of his personal life. Why not figure out if he is qualified to do that job? Why not give him that hearing, let the senators ask him those tough questions, and then make a decision?
Allegations of drunk driving. He was involved in 3 automobile instances, none of which were his fault. No alcohol.
How many have been proved?
Of those. But here's the point, and you bring up a good point, and that is the damage done to this man. You know, when Rex Tillerson stepped down, he said, Washington is a mean place. This is a perfect example of how it's not only mean, it's very destructive. Fortunately, Dr. Jackson is so well liked for the job he's done at the White House, he'll fall back on that. But this is a case, John Tester, and I can't prove this, but it certainly is interesting to point out that he is perhaps in the most vulnerable Senate race, and he's using this for politics.
I would just say this lesson to any Republican: fight back. Fight back immediate and hard because the left's never going to stop. They're going to go after you
But
no matter
also,
what.
to reporters, get your facts.
Yeah.
Make sure you get your facts before you drag a decent person through the mud and drag their family through the mud.
And speaking of facts, remember those FBI texts? Well, recovered text messages between those anti-Trump FBI officials now delivered to at least 5 congressional committees. Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert's Judiciary Committee is one of them. He'll join us next.
Plus, we've all seen Alec Baldwin's portrayal of President Trump.
We have to take a hard look at mental health, which I have so much of. I have one of the healthiest mentals.
I personally think his impression is overrated, but others disagree. How Saturday Night Live alum Rob Schneider actually says it's a ruining the joke the way he does the jokes. We'll bring it to you.
When you hear the call, you got your daddy underway. Word up.
Well, a newly recovered batch of texts from anti-Trump FBI employees, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, make its way to congressional committees.
This time, the text revealed just how big of an impact James Comey's firing had on the FBI lovebirds. So what will Congress do with these new details? Joining us to weigh in, Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert, who received the text as a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you again.
What are you going to do with these texts?
Well, there are not enough of them is the problem. This is just more obfuscation on the part of people that were wanting to cover for the Obama administration. It seems pretty clear. And with some of the texts, though, even as limited as they were, there's very disturbing comments, like the POTUS, the President of the United States wants to know everything we're doing. Holy cow, that's what you call a smoking gun. The president wants to know. So anyway, all you have to do is have these guys interviewed by an FBI agent, and as soon as they don't tell the truth, you have a legitimate case, felony case to bring against these FBI and DOJ officials. But what also is again highlighted is what many of us heard back before the election when some Democrats were upset that Comey came out and said, we're reopening the email investigation. What I was hearing was that Comey had done everything he could to stonewall, and that he was sitting on the thousands of emails that had showed up in Weiner's laptop. And finally, what we'd heard was there were a couple of FBI agents that said, Comey, you either get this out there and reopen the investigation, or we're going to quit. We're going to have a press conference, and we're going to disclose how you have covered up for Hillary Clinton.
Sure.
So if that was the case, and it seems like this evidence supports that, because it shows that actually he knew a full month before he reopened the investigation.
Sure. Why did he wait? It's an important question. We got to get those answers. Let's show for our audience a couple of those text exchanges between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page that we got from May of 2017. Strzok saying, having a tough time processing tonight, Liz, feeling a profound sense of loss. Page says, I feel the same loss. I'm angry, and mounting. So there's another one from May 9th of 2017, where they say, we need to open the case we've been waiting on now while Andy is acting. So Andy, of course, Andy McCabe. Right. One more, we'll play one more that came out from May 9th. Acknowledge, damn it, I'm dying down here. Now more than ever, this is an important, critical time. So these are just a few of the text messages you're supposed to get from that 6 months that we never got, right?
And yes, exactly. And one of the things that is actually helpful to us, but it's extremely detrimental to Comey, like comedian Ron White said, yeah, I have the right to remain silent. I just ain't got the ability. And I think that's where Comey is. He can't shut his mouth, and he's digging himself a deeper hole the more he talks and the more inconsistent he is, which is understandable. We see this many times when authors who write fiction have written a book, they've made up facts, and then they try to remember the exact truth. It's very difficult, and that's what we have here. Comey's been running around the country promoting a work of fiction and things that he just made up out of whole cloth, and so it's tough for him to remember the real truth now.
Congressman, we've got to go. We're out of time. Real quickly, will you commit that the Judiciary Committee will get to the bottom of what was inherent at the FBI? I think the American people are taking away that there was a fundamental problem.
That's what I love about Bob Goodlatte. We're not backing down. We are continuing to drive, and they aren't threats. We're either getting them or we're coming after the people that aren't delivering.
And there you go. We shall see. Congressman Louis Gohmert, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, still ahead. Is the Democrats' desire to get the president convicted of a crime or impeached actually endangering everyone else's rights? Lifetime Democrat Alan Dershowitz thinks so. He's here to explain. That's coming up.
Plus, what the duck? The story behind this insane video.
Look out!
Coming up.
We are back with a Fox News alert. A terminally ill toddler at the center of an intense legal battle has died. 23-month-old Alfie Evans losing his fight at the hospital 5 days after being removed from life support. His story gaining worldwide attention after a UK court ruled against a last-ditch effort for Alfie to receive medical care at a Vatican hospital, despite being granted Italian citizenship. So heartbreaking. Plus, the suspected Golden State Killer appears in court shackled to a wheelchair. You can see him there. Joseph James DeAngelo is charged with the 1978 murders of a newlywed couple after a 40-year manhunt. The 72-year-old former police officer is accused of at least 10 other murders and dozens of rapes in California back in the 70s and 80s. Police found him by using crime scene DNA and a genealogy database.
All right, President Trump praising the GOP-led House Intelligence Committee report on the Russia investigation, which showed no evidence of collusion.
It's a great report. No collusion, which I knew anyway. No coordination, no nothing. It's a witch hunt. That's all it is. There was no collusion with Russia, if you can believe this one.
Our next guest says the Democrats' desire to get the president convicted of a crime by any means necessary is also a danger to everyone's legal rights.
Here to explain, Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus, lifelong Democrat, and author of Trumped Up. It is always good to have you here.
Thank you.
And you've just written a great op-ed about our rights. And again, this is coming from, you've been a lifelong Democrat. You did not vote for President Trump, but you are very concerned about his rights being stripped away and how that might affect all of us.
Well, the way they go after our rights is first to go after political enemies, establish precedents on the basis of the political enemies, and then that precedent lies around like a loaded gun and can be used against anybody. Do you remember the great movie and play A Man for All Seasons? Sir Thomas More is asked, would you give the devil the right of the law? And he says, yes, I would. And the opponent says, no, you can't give the devil the right of the law. And then St. Thomas More says, if you knock down all the laws to get the devil, the next thing that will happen is the devil will use that to come after you. Now, Democrats and left-wingers obviously think President Trump is the devil, and they're prepared to eliminate civil liberties. The American Civil Liberties Union is praising a raid on a lawyer's office and praising the fact that the FBI gets to read potentially lawyer-client privileged information because they want to put get
Yeah,
Trump.
but what if it happened to them?
That's the point. You know, when I was a kid, they used to tell me, you know, a conservative is a liberal who's been mugged. And I would respond,
By reality.
yeah. And I would respond by saying, yeah. And a liberal is a conservative whose kid's been busted for pot or who is being audited by the IRS. You got to commit yourself to civil liberties without regard to which side is being attacked. And I have to tell you, I'm not only critical of the Democrats on this, I'm critical of Republicans who were yelling about Hillary Clinton, lock her up, trying to expand the criminal law to get her. When they try to impeach Bill Clinton, that was a mistake. It's always a mistake to expand the criminal law or the grounds for impeachment against your political enemies because it's going to come back to bite you in the rear end.
Bottom line, you're saying that the hatred of civil libertarians has made it so intense that they can't actually do their fundamental job, which is to protect everyone's right.
Well, first of all, there are a lot of civil libertarians in the ACLU who don't care about civil liberties. All they care about is left-wing, hard left politics.
Yeah.
They use civil liberties as an excuse and as a justification. This is happening all over the country. When I was a kid, it was the McCarthyites on the right that would try to stop free speech on campus. Today, it's the hard left. I spoke just the other day at the University of Illinois, and there were protests against me for speaking there because I support Israel. So, you know, everybody is turning everything around now, and there's so much hypocrisy, and the ultimate victim is both truth and civil liberties.
That's a great point. Alan Dershowitz, I know you're a busy man, but here's 243 pages of non-collusion.
Oh, that's
from the House
fantastic.
Select Committee.
Look, even if there were, quote, collusion, collusion isn't a crime under the federal criminal statute. That's why there should have been an independent, nonpartisan investigation to look at the role that Russia played in attempting to influence our election. Instead of immediately pointing fingers, that got us nowhere.
Agreed.
You got it.
Professor, always good to have
Thank you,
you.
Professor.
I'll take this home and study.
Good luck. Good luck with that.
All right. Well, coming up, an about-face from Twitter, why the social media site is now apologizing to Candace Owens.
And it was the bromance that shocked the world this week. So what do the American people think about Trump's French connection? We'll have the dolls you'll only see here.
Mr. President, they're all saying what a great relationship we have. I like him a lot. It is really great to be with you, and you are a special friend. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the time I'd like to reflect on all the good things I've done this year. It'll only take a minute. Vladimir, look, I've always wanted to ask you this. Do you think I'm cool?
Look, I have to go.
So that's a yes?
I just have to go.
I have to take a hard look at mental health, which I have so much of. I have one of the healthiest mentals. I've got a lot of trade wars to escalate here, okay? That's why I just announced tariffs on more Chinese products, including fireworks and finger traps.
That is a montage of Saturday Night Live. I wonder what they'll do with North Korea, by the way. We'll see.
Sure, they'll do
Stay
something.
tuned.
That is the most recent version of Saturday Night Live because
Yes.
we've been watching SNL for years and years. It has been on our TV screens and usually a place to escape, to laugh, to have some lighthearted jokes. And oftentimes it can be funny, but recently it has taken a lot of hits at President Trump himself. And Rob Schneider, who is an alum of SNL, he is not taking it as being funny. He says the fun of Saturday Night Live was always, you never knew which way they leaned politically. You kind of assumed they would lean more left and liberal. But now the cat is out of the bag. They are completely against Trump, which I think makes it less interesting because you know the direction that the piece is going.
Yeah,
Thank you,
know,
Rob Schneider.
He has a good point because it's not just Trump, and I know that's the focus, but like if you look at the character that plays Jeff Sessions, now SNL used to work really hard to try and get the impersonation down very closely, and the joke would be subtle in the sarcasm. But the woman that plays Jeff Sessions, it's got this possum thing. Like, it's just bizarre. It's not funny because it doesn't attach to any exact moment that's actually happened. And so I think Rob's got a good point. And you know, for a former alumni, I would be upset about it. It was something that really was at the top of its craft, and now it's been reduced to sort of this absurdity.
Pete, there's no surprise anymore.
That's exactly right. Conservatives want to laugh too. Like, I want to turn on the TV and I laugh at me. I don't care. Laugh at President Trump. That's fine. But laugh at Barack Obama. Laugh at Hillary Clinton. Look at Nancy Pelosi is a gold mine of comedy. How about Maxine Waters is a gold mine of comedy? Joe Biden. I mean, all the places you could go, they don't go there. We could all laugh together at each other. Actually, that's a healing thing for this country when it's done properly. Instead, as he said, Rob Schneider said it, it's predictable. And when something's predictable, it's not fun.
And I wonder if it hurts the
Let us know.
viewership.
Friends@foxnews.com. Email us.
Will you watch tonight? Email us and let us
you still
know. I'm
watching?
sure they're going to talk about the bromance.
Well, you could just choose that or the Nerd Prom, because tonight is the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which the President will not be attending. I think you'll probly be watching his
We
rally
aren't
in
either,
Michigan instead.
by the way.
Yeah.
We're going to be right here.
That's exactly
And that's
right.
where we
I
like
didn't
to
get
be.
an invite and don't want one.
I didn't either. We're in it together, Pete.
I got invited. I will say, but I didn't go because I wanted to be here.
Oh, good man. Good choice.
I love that, Griff.
I love it.
All right, turning now to some other headlines that we are following this morning. President Trump's pick to lead the CIA says that she will not restart the agency's interrogation program. Gina Haspel apparently telling that to senators ahead of her confirmation hearing set for May 9th. Democrats have criticized her alleged ties to the now closed program following the 9/11 attacks. Also a bus full of middle school students burst into flames. Take a look at this. Black smoke billowing from the vehicle. The driver jumping into action, saving the lives of all of those kids, 25 of them. In a statement, she says she was just doing her job, protecting the kids. The Cape Coral, Florida School District says a bad compressor in the engine caused that fire. How frightening is that? What a hero she was. All right, well, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey personally apologizing to conservative activist Candace Owens for labeling her far right. Of course, this comes after rapper Kanye West praised the way Owens thinks. Dorsey tweeting this apology, saying, quote, "Hi, Candace. I want to apologize for our labeling you far right. Team completed a full review of how this was published and why we corrected far too late, 12 hours later. There was a clear break in our curation process and understanding we are fixing. Thank you for calling it out." And a traffic jam, all caused by, yes, a giant inflatable duck.
Send it to one of the news stations.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea. I might do that.
Well, the wind apparently knocking Quacky loose from his display to promote a charity event in Des Moines, Iowa. Foul play is not suspected. That is good to know. Can you imagine seeing that rolling down the street if you were driving?
Yeah, I don't know what you'd do. Just run
You'd
away.
probably let it pass.
Find something sharp. You know? Well, we're going to toss outside now to Rick with one of our favorite segments all the time with one of our Fox and Friends college associates, Rachel. Rick, take it away.
All right, so we have a tradition here on Fox that when an intern ends, they can either do sports or weather. I always say if you do sports, you just read it.
Okay.
But when you do weather, you have to ad lib it. So you're brave when you do weather. Anybody who does weather has a much bigger future ahead of them.
I also didn't choose this, so.
Oh, they forced this on you?
Yeah.
All right, you didn't have to tell anybody that part.
No,
all right,
everybody
let's
knows.
look at the weather maps. You're going to do the weather for us right now. And here we go. Take it away.
What do I add, like?
Well, here you go. You're talking about the weather. So
Okay.
this is a current temperatures. You see that up on the left? Your current temperatures.
Okay, so current temperature in New York right now is 54. How many do I do? How many do
You
I
know,
do?
a couple until it feels like you're talking
Okay,
too
well,
long about
I'm
it.
from Michigan, so we're going to go Chicago's 37,
There
and
you go.
then Raleigh is 54.
Perfect. All right, and this is a satellite radar picture.
Okay.
So
And
things are looking pretty good, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
not much going on.
Definitely.
A little bit of rain exiting South Florida. Move in across parts of the Northeast. What is that? The rain is like that green.
Does that mean it's not very heavy?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. We got some rain, a little bit of snow
Okay.
behind it.
All right.
But here's the big story, and Abby will be really happy with you as we look at our high temperatures the next few days.
Ooh, okay.
Take a look at what happens across the Northeast. How's this
Hey,
looking?
It's getting warmer. Oh my gosh, finally.
There you go.
It's 84 in New York.
All right, I will tell you, there was no rehearsal at all. I would say you did very well, and you're
Thank
very
you.
brave,
Thank
and
you so
we
much.
wish you so much luck as you go back to school.
Thanks. I had a great time.
There, we got the best interns ever. Rachel Bidock, everybody.
Rachel, nice. First of all, thank you for being here. You're amazing. And
Thank you. I
Can
had a
you
great
ask
time.
Rachel what weather phenomenon is calling barking dogs to unleash?
It's crazy. It's something about, I think it's like, I don't know.
El Nino.
I don't know.
Blame it on
Yeah.
El Nino.
Sure. Hey, Rachel.
famous trick.
Rachel, this is your chance to give a shout out to anyone you want.
My parents, just because they paid for me to be here. So.
That's good.
Hey, guys.
Shout out.
Great
Love
job,
it. Great job, Rachel. Thank you so much for all you've
Told the
done.
truth,
Thank
you didn't
you.
get an option. It was whether or nothing.
All right, coming up, Nancy Pelosi blasting religious Republicans.
I say to my colleagues, you pray in church on Sunday, and then you pray on people the rest of the week. What is this?
What do the American people think about that? The brand new dolls you'll only see here.
How is she not a Saturday Night Live skit? I mean, it keeps on giving. And Fox and Friends is going to the dogs. Ultimate Air Dogs, that is. They're performing high-flying stunts.
Let's see it.
Ready, set,
And go!
Rip, you can't overthrow them. Consumer headlines brought to you by the CFPB, or maybe not. Now, a major merger between two telecommunications companies is advancing. T-Mobile and its German owners now moving toward a long-awaited deal with Sprint, valued at $24 billion. If it goes through, it would reduce the U.S. wireless market to just 3 major players. Less competition? Not good. And the price of your Amazon Prime membership, Abby, is about to go up. Amazon increasing the cost by $20, going from $99 to $119. The move coming hours after the online giant announced it raked in $51 billion with a B dollars in the first quarter, nearly doubling their sales from the same period last year.
That's what happens, Pete. No competition.
That's right. Just raise those prices.
All right, well, it was a busy news week from James Comey's book tour media blitz to President Trump saying Kim Jong-un has acted honorably. But what did Americans think about it all?
Lee Carter is a pollster and partner with Maslansky and Partners, and she put these moments to the dial test for us. Good morning, Lee.
It's a tongue twister every time.
Every single
It was
time.
I think I got it, though, didn't I?
You did.
Maslansky.
You
I've been
got it.
practicing for a couple of years. Lee, thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
President Trump talked about North Korea, talked about talking to Kim Jong-un. Let's play that sound and let us know.
We have been told directly that they would like to have the meeting as soon as possible, and we think that's a great thing for the world. Kim Jong-un he really has been very open and I think very honorable from everything we're seeing.
So what are you seeing?
So what I'm seeing there is Republicans obviously loving this message, giving an A, independents a B, Democrats a C. The Democrat line is a surprising one to me because based on everything that you've heard this week, the Democrats are going crazy about the president's week. And yet, the American people still giving him a chance, especially on foreign policy. This North Korea deal, really, really big deal for the president. If he's able to pull this off, I think we're going to see a lot of perception shifting.
All right, another big moment from this week. Bret Baier sitting down with James Comey, asking him about who funded this dossier. Here's how that went down.
When did you learn that the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign had funded Christopher Steele's work?
Yeah, I still don't know that for a fact.
What do you mean?
I've only seen it in the media. I never knew exactly which Democrats had funded. I knew it was funded first by Republicans, opposed to Donald.
But that's not true.
I'm sorry?
That's not true. That the dossier that Christopher Steele worked on was funded by Republicans?
My understanding was the activity was begun, that Steele was hired to look into, was first funded by Republicans, then picked up, the important thing was picked up by Democrats opposed to Donald Trump.
So this is really surprising to me. Democrats only gave this a B. Independents and Republicans gave it a D. Now, last week, independents were not sure what to believe. They were right in the middle. Republicans and Democrats lined up just as you expected. They were saying, I'm not sure what to believe. I'm going to listen to things. And what's happened this week is they're not finding Comey to be that authentic. A lot of these interviews have hurt him. This interview was really, really intense, got to the heart of things. And people said, I'm not sure I think he's authentic anymore. I think he's out to sell books. Not a good week.
Yeah, that's all political, though. If the dossier was out to hurt a Democratic president, those numbers for Democrats would be down at a D.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there was one moment this week when House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi attacked religious Republicans over the issue of DACA. Didn't get as much play, but it was very significant in and of itself. Take a look at this.
Is about people, human beings, all God's children. They go to church on Sunday, a lot of these people who are so anti. And I say to them, I say to my colleagues, you pray in church on Sunday and then you pray on people the rest of the week. What is this?
What is this so anti?
I don't know what that was, but I'll tell you what the American people thought is independents and Republicans gave this a D. Democrats gave it a B. The number one word in an open-ended survey that I gave saying, what did you think about this, was hypocrite. And here's why. They say, if you're criticizing other people for damning one set of people, aren't you doing the very same thing? And we're tired of you looking down on us. And you can't criticize Christians if you're not going to act Christian yourself. And so this kind of stuff really hurts Nancy Pelosi. And I think a lot of people out there are hungry for a different kind of leadership on the Democratic Party so that they actually have a message, not one that's attacking Trump supporters and not one that's just resist.
And again, you say independents trending with Republicans on that one. Also this week, you had what is being called the bromance between us and between President Trump and the French president. Here's a montage of a few of those moments.
Mr. President, they're all saying what a great relationship we have.
Thank you.
I like him a lot. It is really great to be with you, and you are a special friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a good job. Did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We do have a very special relationship. In fact, I'll get that little piece of dandruff off. That little piece. We have to make him perfect. He is perfect.
You think they like each other, Lee? I love
it. Really seemed that they did.
The holding hand shot is the best.
It's the best. Quite a contrast to what we saw a few months ago when that awkward handshake happened. They seem to really be having fun together. The American people really like seeing us on the main stage, getting along with one of our allies in such an important and meaningful way. Loved seeing them have fun together. This was an A+ for Republicans, B+ for independents, and even the Democrats gave it a C. So
Lee, you're already perfect.
Well, dandruff over here?
No, you didn't. I just said for a fact.
Well played.
Well played.
Lee, great to have you on.
Thanks,
Great
Lee.
to be here. Thanks so much.
All right, TV host Mike Rowe calling out the problems in our education system. The incredible message that will have every American thinking twice about.
And Fox and Friends has gone to the dogs, the ultimate air dogs, that is. They are showing off their distance, their jumping skills. Oh, Rick, maybe next time.
Bad toss.
See every dog has its day, dog. When a big dog.
Well, as it has a tendency to do, Fox and Friends on the weekend has gone to the dogs this morning.
The ultimate air dogs are here, and back with us is founder and president Milt Wilcox. So good to have you here, and for a great time.
Great to be here. You know, we got dogs, we got Fox. What else better than we got here, right? A lot of fun. That's
So
what
tell us about this particular show.
Ultimate Air Dogs is a competition, and we take all over the United States. We do about 100 shows a year, and we come to big cities, small cities, little cities, no cities, wherever they want us to come and provide entertainment. We've done the CMX Music Festival in Nashville. We've done work for Disney. We go all over the country, and we set up shows like this where people can bring their dogs and have fun just like that.
So you can bring your dog.
Anybody can bring their dog when we come to shows, and they can jump, and they can be an Ultimate Air Dog
So
champion.
my dog, Rascal, I have a Jack Russell. I've posted slow-mo videos of him with the Frisbee.
Does he
you can
swim?
teach him. He can swim,
Wait,
too.
oh, yeah, we can
He's
teach him
surfed.
how to
I
do
put him
it.
on a
Can all
surfboard.
dogs swim?
Well, all dogs can swim just like all people can if they're taught.
And do all dogs get a ribbon?
Do all dogs get a ribbon? No, you got to be. Well, you do get a competition. We don't have just competition ribbons. You got to earn your ribbon.
Is there any money involved in this? Like,
I make a lot of money. I make a lot of money.
Oh, you okay? Good. What about the dog?
No, we don't do it for that because, believe it or not, people want to cheat sometimes to try to win. So we make sure that everybody's treated. The 25-foot dog is treated like the 10-foot dog. This dog here's Sophie Bell. She's from New York, actually, and she's been jumping with us about 11 or 12 years.
Now, wait, hang on, stop. So our viewers will remember, in 1984, Game 3, you're the pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, and you won that game. How do you go from being a World Series hero in 1984 to air dogs?
Actually, I beat the Yankees right here in Old Yankee Stadium, too. Remember that? No, but you go from throwing baseballs to dog toys. That's why we got Frisbees and stuff like that. We got great sponsors and stuff like that, like Earthborn. But what we do is we have fun with our dogs. We don't care what you do as long as you have fun with your dog.
I was training to throw. It's not that easy, but you're going to be good at it.
You need a lot of help, Rick. I'm telling you.
So can you train me to throw for Pete? Does this go to dogs to people?
He looks like an athlete, though.
Can you teach an old dog a new trick?
I can teach old dogs new tricks. Yeah.
We're older dogs, Strip. Be very, very careful.
But you know, you can see we have all sorts of different types of dogs. We got a dog here. That's Sophie Bell. So she doesn't like cold water, as you can tell. But anybody's dog can do this.
Cold. I'm gonna go check
Like
it
these
out.
people here from New York also. That's Chloe. She is a silver lab. And we have, who's throwing for him?
All right, let's see one to try.
Griff's going to throw now.
Griff's going to throw for Chloe. She's a silver lab. Here she comes.
Come on, Griff!
All right.
Griff!
So was that the dog's
I
fault or
overthrew it.
Griff's fault?
That was Griff's fault.
Griff's got another
You
one.
know, dog.
It's always the dog's fault.
Hey, look, it's not the wife's fault, right? It's not the dog's fault.
Yeah.
Whose fault is it?
Okay.
Oh, it's your fault.
Come on, Griff.
Right.
One more try.
There you go.
Like, no,
Come on,
we're
back.
going to be back later in the show.
Hey, thank you guys very much.
And Pete is going to jump himself later on in the
really?
show.
This is hard.
We're gonna
All
miss that one.
We'll do
I love it.
All right,
All
still
right,
ahead.
good.
We've got an hour full of some big guests. Geraldo Rivera, Carl Rove, Jocko Willings, and Neil Cavuto all here live. Jocko Willings, rather.
That's when country comes to town. Well, her daddy said, child, better let him be. Well, I don't like him, and he sure don't like me. Her mama just says, y'all have a little fun.